You're listening to the Ready or Not podcast with me, Mabel Golden. We're here to share the stories of those living intentionally and building a life they love so that you can be inspired to do the same. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Genevieve, who is one of my closest friends here in Dubai, and I really wanted her to be on the podcast because she's had an amazing experience already at such a young age of moving to not one but two countries. So we're going to talk about all about her experience living in Berlin and then moving here to the UAE. Hi Jen, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Hi Mabel, most welcome. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to have one of my best friends and oldest friends actually on the podcast, which is amazing. Me and Jen have been friends for like 5 years. 5 years. Wow. And we've been friends since when we were in the UK studying fashion marketing and business in London. So the reason that I've asked Jen to be on the podcast is because she's actually winning in terms of countries she's moved to. She's ahead of me. She's moved to 2 different countries, which is amazing. And we thought we would talk a little bit comparing the 2 experiences of moving to Berlin first and then moving to the UAE.
Yes.
So let's jump straight in. I think the first thing I would love to ask you is about that decision, because it's the making the decision that's kind of like the hard bit, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Just taking the leap and actually going for it is probably the hardest thing. And I think the thing that people overthink the most.
100%.
And holds people back. But
what was it like for you making the decision to go to Berlin? Because that was first. Let's just set the scene. It was
2018.
2018.
Yes.
And you were just 20, a little baby of 20.
Very young. And October 2018 is when I moved to Berlin. My situation then was I actually left my job that I'd been at in, I think, the July, and I was taking a break. I had a job that I didn't really enjoy. I had a manager that was really not very nice, and had to take the leap to get rid of that job and cut that cord. So I was kind of deciding what to do next.
It's almost like a 2-part leap, because you made the decision to leave your job first, which is one whole leap in itself, and then the decision to find somewhere new and go somewhere completely different. Yeah,
exactly. So I think for both of those, it's that same leap to actually just committing to it and leaving the job or going to a new job, equally as difficult. And I probably held myself back from leaving that original job for quite a while that I could have left earlier. But such a good feeling when, you make those decisions and you go for it. So my situation was I was basically wondering, what am I doing with my life, to be quite honest with you.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. Very normal, very natural.
Especially when you're 20.
Exactly.
Is any 20-year-olds listening? Just chill.
Don't worry about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Edie, if you're listening, that's my sister. She's turning 20 in September. So. I had left this job with no idea what I was going to do next, basically. I had been in buying at that point in London and was just wondering what to do next. Quite enjoyed buying it in itself, but was thinking, what's next for me? And then, I actually visited Berlin at the weekend, basically, when I was wondering what to do with my life, and thought, I quite like this place. And I applied for a job there. Didn't really think anything of it. Came home, was still thinking, what am I doing with my life? The only thing I had planned was to come and see you in Dubai, because you had already moved at that point. Yeah. So, one of those scenarios where I was like, okay, that's what's coming up next in my life. So I was actually just working a job in a pizza parlor back at home, because, as you do in between jobs and whatnot. For sure.
And as I say, I'd applied for a job in Berlin and then didn't think anything of it. And it actually took them about 5 weeks to get back to me from when I applied. So obviously, it was in the back of my mind and I wasn't really thinking about it. But then in the space of about 5 days, I had 4 interviews, one of which was in London. So I had the flexibility, luckily, to be able to go to that interview. Then they really quickly offered me the job, and I was in a position where I was able to move quickly. And they said, okay, can you move to Berlin in 2 weeks?
Wow. What a turnaround.
A real turnaround. And coming back to your question, how was it making that decision and how easy was it? Because of my position at the time, it was really easy. I was like, okay, this is, something that I almost felt like I'd been waiting for something to happen. I knew that there was, something next, something coming, something brewing. Yeah. Wasn't quite sure what it was. Didn't really think it was this particular job because, it had not happened for a month or so. I hadn't heard anything about it. Anyway, then, the decision was there. It was a very easy and quick yes.
and within 2 weeks I was moving to Berlin. So yeah, super exciting, and quick turnaround. Just got rid of the pizza job in the pizza parlor and off I went. So yeah, for me that initial step there was super easy because it was just really exciting. I wanted to move abroad, I wanted something new in my life, so that decision was definitely really easy.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And you did visit, but it's not like you had a big network of friends or people there, was it, at all?
Not at all. I knew of about 2 people, but not particularly close friends to me. Somebody that I knew from school, you know, an acquaintance, but no one really that I knew. I didn't have any close friends or anyone there. I also don't speak German. I still don't speak German.
Yeah, that's a whole other part to it.
Yeah, I think that's something that I kind of like reflect on and think like that's quite ballsy to move to a country where I literally didn't know any words whatsoever, hadn't studied that language. But for me it was okay, it's a very like multicultural city, a lot of people do speak English, but I was just like whatever, basically, let's go for it.
Wow, yeah, that's such a big part of it. And I think we can definitely dive into comparing your move to the UAE and your move to Berlin.
Yes.
But that language element is something I didn't actually think of because when I've been, you know, moving to the UAE, it's kind of like, you know, that there's a lot of English speakers because it's so global. But I think, I don't know, how I'm seeing Berlin, and maybe I don't know, I didn't live in Berlin, so I'm not sure, but there's not the same kind of, you don't expect everyone to speak English, right?
It's definitely different to Dubai in that aspect. The working language at Zalando, where I got the job, was English, but it was again really multicultural, and people spoke like various different languages. So that was obviously one point I thought, okay, I'm going to spend most of my time at work, so they're speaking English, that's okay. And the rest of it, honestly, I was just on like Duolingo and like Translate, just winging it basically.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean it was a barrier, but it didn't really stop me, you know.
No, that's good.
And yeah, it's definitely different in terms of Dubai, where I think everyone speaks English a lot more freely.
We've not had Duolingo for any Arabic, have we?
Exactly. But it definitely did have that element of it, even, you know, just at like a metro station or things like that, not fully understanding what was going on. But I don't know, I'm quite like open and confident with languages, so I've just kind of like embraced that element of it. That was kind of an exciting part for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then, so you moved to the UAE, when was that?
That was at the end of April 2019, so just 6 months after I had moved to Berlin. So in terms of making that decision, that was a lot more difficult for me because I'd only been in Berlin for 6 months only. So my situation there was, I was really enjoying Berlin, really loving the job, but there was just a change of structure within the business that I was working in. And I just kind of felt, and I could see that I was going to not be able to progress very quickly there. As I mentioned earlier, I'd done a year in London previously, and I was moving in at a similar level of job role. So I just felt I could be stuck here for another year and a half, maybe even 2 years at this level, not progressing. So yeah, when that situation happened, again, I wasn't urgently looking for a job, but I think we kind of discussed it a little bit. And then an opportunity came up on LinkedIn at Namshi, which was a higher role. And I just thought, okay, let's just give it a whirl. I visited Dubai, as I mentioned earlier, came here for 10 days to see you. Had a great time. I was like, yeah, I like Dubai, but you know, I'm not thinking of moving there anytime soon. But yeah, the opportunity came about, and that was definitely a harder decision to kind of consider, because I thought, okay, I've only been here for 6 months. That's not very long at all. I do like it. I've made a lot of friends. I enjoy, you know, the place, the city. Is it too soon to be leaving? Is that a bad move to take? So that definitely was a lot of harder decision for me. And I think that kind of impacted maybe my first few months in Dubai, kind of considering, have I made the wrong decision?
Because I was going to say, I thought you would say that moving to the UAE was easier because you've already been through the process before. So I was expecting you to say that you found it easy because you'd already made a big move. And that's interesting that you found it almost like harder, more difficult.
I think the decision was harder. I
guess that you had more to close and more to kind of wrap up.
Exactly. There was like more considerations just for my situation at the time, but in terms of the actual process, it probably was easier because I had done it before. I also don't like to allow myself a lot of time to wait for these things. So I left Berlin, and then I went back to the UK, I think, for 3 days, then came to Dubai, had 2 days, and then started work that day after. So I had like 5 days in between. So there's not even enough time to think about it in that sense. Which,
wow, you're just running on adrenaline.
Just running, literally. But I don't know, for me that kind of works. So I was like, okay, let's just go for it. And you can't like overthink it too much. You just literally like, okay, airport, like packing, let's go. So
wow. Okay, so we've got 2 quite different situations, and you've already mentioned that kind of because you were thinking about whether you should or should not close on your kind of Berlin experience, that maybe impacted the start of your Dubai experience. So that's already a little bit different. But I think what would be really interesting for everyone listening is to know about the places themselves and just how you found that experience of being somewhere new, because not only are they different to the UK, they're different to each other. They've got, you know, different working styles, different company cultures, different ways of making friends. Let's start with making friends, I think, because that's what so many people are just so nervous for and don't know where to start. How was that like in Berlin?
So as I say, I went to Berlin knowing 2 people essentially. So again, I just took that plunge, and it didn't really bother me as much, I think, in my head, because it's very close to the UK. It was like an hour away. I didn't kind of feel that I was detaching myself from my UK life too much.
That's true,
I kind of had that option to pop back and see my friends who were still in the country, friends from school, etc., if I needed to. So I didn't feel kind of like as far away as maybe you do in Dubai, obviously being further. But in that sense, it was an interesting one. But I do just think, and it sounds very cliche, but things just kind of like fall into place, and the world is a very small place, and people know people. One of my best friends from school, when I told them that I was moving, she said, "Oh, I follow a girl, and she actually works at Zalando, and she lives in Berlin. I just follow her on Instagram, you know, like her theme, her feed, etc." So she said, "Oh, just follow her and give her a message." I did that, and then on my first day, she was actually on my department, on my team. So such a small world, and like, what are the chances of that? And she had actually seen my message, so we kind of like built a rapport from the start, which was quite nice.
That's really nice.
Just kind of like calmed you down your first day to have a familiar face, even though you'd never met before. So that was nice, and I think things like that do happen quite often. And I know a lot of the time you just think, oh yeah, you're just saying that kind of thing, and you're just hearing that, and it won't happen to me. But actually, it does happen a lot of the time, and other people have that kind of experience too. So that was definitely handy. But you just have to put yourself out there. One of the things that sounds a bit odd, but I was on Bumble Friends when I went to Berlin.
So I've never tried Bumble Friends actually. I know it's a thing, but I didn't use it when I first moved here to make friends. I feel like it's probably a slightly more European thing. They were pushing it quite a lot in like ads and things like that. And obviously everyone in their head thinks it's a dating app. So you're like, oh, am I like dating a friend, or like, what is going on here? That's kind of like what you've got to do.
It is a similar situation. Like, you're looking for people to spend your time with, and you have to get to know them. It is a kind of similar setup. But I met quite a few people, nice girls on Bumble Friends who were the same age as me and had just moved to Berlin, a range of nationalities as well. So that was quite nice. One of my friends, Elenia, we became really good friends for the whole time that I was living there. And funnily enough, she actually had met another girl on Bumble Friends who also worked at Zalando. So we kind of like started creating like a link of a group. And as I say, you just have to go for it. So she invited her friend to come out for drinks one time, who also brought another friend. And then we just ended up kind of creating a group. So there was about 5 of us, and we became like really good friends. I'm still in touch with them now. I'm going to see them this summer. So things like that just kind of link up quite well. So in that sense, I didn't find it too difficult. I'm quite like an out there sociable person. So in that sense, I think, my biggest advice to anyone listening would be to just put yourself out there. Kind of think it is cliche as well, but everybody is in the same boat. A lot of people have just moved to places, and they're just looking for friends as well. Just obviously, be yourself and just try and make friends and see what happens. Basically,
there's an element of being proactive there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you can't expect for people to fall into your lap. You do have to take that step to sign up to Bumble Friends or whatever, which is so good that you do that, because I'm sure the success rate of it is so high, because like you said, there's so many people in the same boat. And it's nice to hear, I think, that even within that company there was so many people from different places, and
definitely
that already will make you feel at ease.
Yeah.
So it was quite a big company, right?
Yeah. So Zalando, for anyone listening, is an e-com company that's one of the biggest in Europe. So like the likes of ASOS, etc. Headquarters in Berlin, and there's about 5,000 people in the campus that I was working in. So that's like a huge.
Wow.
It is a campus. It is. They whilst I was there, part of like the move over was to this amazing new building that they built, and it's literally like a university campus.
Wow.
It's got like 5 stories and like state of the art building. It is really impressive, really amazing.
That's cool.
And yeah, they've got a couple of other offices, but I think in total in Berlin there's 5,000 employees. So it's it's a huge number, and it's a bit of a joke when you start speaking to people. It's like everyone has a friend that works at Zalando because like the rate of employment is obviously so high for that one business.
Wow, that's funny though, because I think here everyone knows someone that used to work at Namshi, and I guess that just puts everything into scale. Kind of. I don't know. That's funny, because Namshi's of course a very it's much smaller than that.
Yeah.
And also for anyone listening, just to fill you in, I did actually used to work at Namshi with Jen. Just to fill you in, that's why I'm talking as if I know it, because I do know it, but it was a few years ago now. But yeah, let's quickly talk about how you made friends here, because obviously you did have one friend already, which was me.
Was you. Yeah, so that was obviously comforting to know that you were here and that you'd already made the move, and obviously things were just a little bit easier in that sense. I remember you already had a Knoll card for me, which is for the metro here in Dubai. Which I think I gave back to you this year.
Yeah, you did. It had a little watermelon
exactly cyclical there,
That's
3 years later, but yeah, just little things like that, which obviously put your mind at ease a little bit, just to have that
one less thing to figure out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But obviously at the same time, we obviously want to have our own lives as well. So yeah, we both have our own circle of friends. I think again, most naturally to me, it came from work for initial stages. Obviously you're spending most of your time there. And then here probably the like for like within Bumble would be Facebook groups. They're obviously really amazing, and there's like thousands of girls, and particularly British girls or like Western girls that are just looking for like-minded people, kind of thing. So that was probably the way here to kind of make friends. But again, things just kind of happen, don't they? You just kind of meet people, and groups just kind of build up over time.
Knows so and so, and you introduce them, and
exactly.
And that's what I really like about the kind of attitude to making friends here, is that it's like a group effort. It's like you're all in it together, and then as soon as you kind of find a group, you just stick to it, and you're all getting along, and it's really nice.
And the group kind of grows, as you say, like someone will bring somebody else along, and then it's just kind of everybody's just like, cool, like welcome to the group.
You're in now.
You're in. It's like no initiation session,
you
nothing.
Can sit with us.
Exactly.
Energy.
Every time everyone's welcome.
It's all welcome.
It's nice. Positive vibes.
It really is. Okay, so you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but let's go talk about work cultures in the two cities for a little bit. I don't have any experience working in Europe or in London, actually. I only worked in Manchester. And so, tell us a little bit about your experience, because they're both, on paper, similar roles in terms of what you're doing. I think the people make or break how you're satisfied in a role. But as well as that, there's company cultures which are different everywhere.
Definitely.
What was Berlin like?
Yeah, it was a very kind of supportive and appreciative culture for their staff members. I think that's quite common within Europe to kind of have that kind of mindset. So I think within that it was a very positive mindset in terms of flexi time, let's say coming in between 9 and 11,
right,
and then finishing between 4 and 7,
and this
respectively.
was before COVID.
Before COVID,
flexi time was mainstream.
Before work from home, all of that stuff. So there was like that appreciation. For example, there were some managers who had children, and they would do the suitable flexi time for when their kids needed to be picked up and things like that. Another big thing, the Zalando office is dog friendly. I know.
Well, that's a game changer.
That is a game changer. So literally you just see like all these little dogs, in the office.
Every day of the week?
Every day.
Aww.
Every day it's dog friendly.
Wow.
I know. It's literally amazing. So obviously dog has to be...
Europe is so dog friendly
in
general, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So that's like something that's so different. I can't imagine the Namshi office being dog friendly, It's just... things like that I think were definitely interesting. But overall I'd say it was a very kind of like supportive and appreciative company to work for. A lot of like perks and benefits. Obviously it is a very large company as well, so that naturally comes with bigger companies. In terms of like the working hours, as I said, flexi time was fine, and yeah, I mean, worked late a little bit, but not in a big way. As I mentioned, there are 5,000 employees there. So in terms of that, like I had a full structured team that I was working with. And I think the biggest difference that I noticed coming to Dubai is the kind of the workload per person compared to Berlin. Yeah. So as we've mentioned, Namshi is a much smaller company in terms of the employees, but actually it is a very large company in the Middle East for a very similar thing, e-com. Yeah. So when I came and there were like 4 of us for a large number of categories at Namshi compared to, let's talk about it on a brand level, it's probably better, but at my old job in Berlin, I had 5 brands. Yeah. And then when I come to Namshi, currently now we have 250 brands. So
that's actually insane.
Yeah, I can't even do the maths right now.
No, me neither. I was going to say can you, but I can't.
Like, wow. Not sure, but a lot. Wow. So that was quite staggering to me, just in terms of, the increase there and in terms of workload and responsibilities that you had to do. Additionally to that, things like working with other departments. At Namshi, you do that a lot. So you're working with marketing and things like that. But because the company was so large at Zalando, like I didn't even see marketing. I didn't know where they sat. Wow. You know, you're talking 5 stories of another part of the campus, exactly, like completely separate. So then, that was definitely different. I mean, Namshi was a startup once upon a time, and I still feel it kind of carries that energy, startup energy, and everybody kind of like mucking in. But that was probably the most staggering difference that I could tell and I could see. Yeah. And then I guess also the Middle Eastern work culture is, you know, fast. Everything is like urgent.
Yeah.
Do
in
it now,
especially as
well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think just on the whole, you know, everyone's busy all the time. There's always so much going on, which actually I really enjoy. But it was quite interesting and quite different to kind of move into that. And I don't think it's just like within e-com, but I think speaking to everybody that lives here in Dubai, it is very fast paced. And I'd say, probably Berlin, there was a slightly slower lifestyle, let's say.
Okay, so let's talk about any part of the moving process, especially the second time, so when you moved to the UAE, that maybe was a little bit uncertain or that maybe went less than perfect. I think everybody has those moments, but what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think overall the main thing was probably that decision that I had mentioned. So obviously I was kind of overthinking, have I made the right decision? I'd made the move, I'd moved really quickly, as I mentioned. And as I kind of settled down, the adrenaline settled, I was thinking, have I made the right decision? I moved at the end of April, and then we obviously very quickly approached the summer months, which is obviously sweltering here. You don't really go outside very much.
Very different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like the winter here is like the months that are thriving. And I just worked through the winter in Berlin, which is like minus 10 degrees, like cozy, like winter, dark nights, etc. So then I was looking forward to the summer, European summer, and you know, things were going on. And as I left Berlin, it was getting nicer, spring was coming, and you kind of had that excitement for the summer months. And then on the contrast coming here, it's like the fun had just happened.
Leaving.
Everyone's like, I'm out of here, like what are you doing? And I'm like, oh gosh, like what have I done? You know. So I think that was probably overarching, not just because of the weather, but have I made the right decision? As I said, I'd only been in Berlin for 6 months, and I was thinking, you know, was there more for me there? Like, did I give it a long enough chance? So that kind of played on my mind for quite a while. And that was probably one of the more difficult things to kind of deal with and process at the time. I'd say it probably took me a good 6 months to kind of settle into it and think, okay, like I've made this decision, I'm committing to it now.
I think the first year, it's funny that you only did 6 months in Berlin, really, because I always say that the first year, it's almost like it doesn't count because it takes that long to get comfortable.
Yeah, it does.
To get to know everything, to get your own Knoll card probably. Like it takes a year, I'd say, to really settle. And the first year is just a blur. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah. But do you think, I don't know, when people ask me for advice, if they're thinking of doing it, I would always say, just do it, because then you can always go back.
Exactly.
Like that, and that's probably, you know, it's very helpful in the moment because you can think, okay, nothing is permanent. I can always go back to my old life if I decide that I prefer it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that was on your mind a little bit.
Yeah, that was like a comforting part of it as well. You know, you can always go back to those situations. So yeah, that was definitely something that was comforting. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the most difficult part for the first 6 months, just kind of settling into it and kind of, realizing the differences between the work life, between culturally, and just between like the way things work. It was different and takes a bit more getting used to. Just like silly examples, like I could, you know, walk to work some days in Berlin, whereas you can't do that here in Dubai. And just kind of little things like that, in terms of like, just living and lifestyle. Exactly. Yeah. And I'd say that there was probably more similarity between Berlin and the UK in terms of just like the culture and the setup and like the town, the city, etc. And obviously Dubai is like something that no one's ever seen before, you know. It's like
for us.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely compared to the UK, it's like super different. So probably that was like more of an adjustment phase in terms of just getting used to the lifestyle here.
Okay, this is probably the bigger, juicier question that I'm excited to hear your answer to. How do you feel the course of your life? And like I said, big question. It's not like you have to know. Nobody really knows where their life is going, I'd say. But do you feel like having these experiences and, you know, pushing through your comfort zone, do you think that's actually changed the course of your whole life, you know, not just the here and now?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I kind of asked myself, okay, say you hadn't got that job in Berlin, like what would you be doing? Like, I'm really not sure. I don't think
parlor maybe.
Yeah, I might still be there now. No hating on it, but yeah, that obviously was something that I kind of just literally applied for on a bit of a whim, not really thinking anything serious of it, and it definitely did change the course, because I do think that had I not had that position in Berlin, I wouldn't have got the role in Dubai, you know. So all of those things do kind of have a knock-on effect. Almost, yeah. I mean, and that's just on like a career path kind of view, but in terms of just how it's changed me personally and how that's like positively impacted me. Obviously the leap that we were talking about, I've taken the leap twice, and I could definitely do it a third, fourth, fifth time, you know, and it's definitely gets easier the more you do it. And yeah, I think that's probably the main thing for me, is just the confidence building of that, and realizing that you basically have so many opportunities to do what you want to do. And yeah, once you start doing it and you start the ball rolling, basically, like the opportunities are endless, and it's just not daunting anymore, you know. We kind of think like, where's next, like what do you want to do next? And you can go everywhere, you can go anywhere, and once you just start moving and take that leap and have that confidence, then that kind of stays within you, I think.
I agree, and it's addictive, I would say.
Yeah, it is.
I love the feeling of experiencing new places. And
exactly.
Now, just as you said, now that I've done it, I love the idea of doing it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Leads me perfectly on to the next question. Where next for Genevieve? Do you feel like there's somewhere in mind that you would love to go?
Yeah, I mean, I have a kind of couple of options that I kind of think about. Part of me would like to go back to Europe at some point, just to kind of be within that environment, within Europe again, you know. Love Dubai, love the Middle East, but just to go back to that. And also there's so many differences within Europe as well, like that each country is very different in itself and has its own culture. So that would be nice to go back to Europe at some point. Scandinavia would be quite interesting, I think. Good kind of like, work-life balance and pros to working there, definitely.
Yeah.
Then New York would be amazing, obviously.
Wow.
It's another city life, like
put it
bustling
out there.
city.
Yeah.
I actually think that this poster behind you might be New York, so you know, could be.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So
I don't know. I didn't put it there.
Place there. So that could be really cool. There's something different, and then in a longer term, probably Australia. That's somewhere that's always really excited me. You know, again, good quality of life there by the beach and whatnot, and just something that I think I vibe with well. But as I say, you kind of once you do it once, you do it twice, then you have all these opportunities and ideas in your head, like I can go here, I can go there. So all of those places excite me, but again, who knows, like once you do it, and once you come to a new opportunity that maybe you weren't even thinking of before, like there's probably places that might come up to me, and I've not even got them on my mind right now.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would never have said I would be living in the Middle East. You know, I didn't know what was coming. So let's see. I think one thing that a lot of the people listening will probably really take from this conversation is just how young you were to already have done have two countries under your belt. And we almost, so me and Jen, both of us didn't go to university and move out from our home and our hometown until we actually moved country. So I think that has a big effect, doesn't it, on your life, doing it so young?
Definitely. So yeah, I kind of think that the first move to Berlin was kind of like that moving to uni experience. So like we hadn't had that experience ourselves. I was still living at home with my mum when I was living in London. So I was keen to just have my independence to get out, and
so
combined with that, it's really exciting to move to a new place and meet new people and a new culture. So it was all of that kind of wrapped into one. But at the time, it was just super exciting for me. I know that might seem daunting to other people, but yeah, I was just kind of really ready for that and ready for all of it at once. So yeah, it was just that general experience of getting away from your hometown and just having new experiences. Was definitely amazing, and definitely shaped kind of my next steps to what I was doing next. But I think at a young age you're kind of growing and developing and kind of seeing what you want to do and who you are at that stage. So kind of having all of that combination at the same time was really beneficial for me and just exciting. As we've said, it's super exciting, and you kind of get a bug of like, oh, where can I go to next? And I think combining that at that age was also good. Obviously I was 20, so I had, your 20s are your selfish years, as everybody says. So starting that at that age, it made me realize, okay, like I've got a lot of time ahead of me where I can make all of these moves and do what I want to do. And it was definitely the time to be selfish and experience things myself. So I think that, on the whole, it was just super beneficial. I was thinking where would I be if I was still in the UK? And, at 24, might I have not moved anywhere? Might have I still been in the UK? So I think overall it's just a very positive thing to do at a young age. And even if you're not going to uni, even if you're at uni, doing things in semesters abroad, or doing things within your summer, or just making the move at 18, 19, 20, there's actually things that aren't stopping you. You can do that, and I would definitely encourage it to other people. Don't think that you are too young. Actually just see there's lots of benefits from doing that. And I think also it was really interesting at that age to meet other people of a young age in their 20s, but from different cultures and different backgrounds as well. I think that that's just really insightful, and you can perhaps be kind of brought up in a small town and have not a very wide viewpoint of other cultures and other things to do. So I think that was really interesting, to just meet other people and just open your eyes basically, and open your mind to other cultures and things like that, which personally really excites me.
I love that as well, and it's so funny to feel like the exotic one when we come here and have people be interested in what our life in the UK, what was it like growing up in the UK, and I would love to visit England one day and feel like that we've had our own experiences, but swapping those experiences with other people and hearing their stories.
Exactly.
I love it.
I really love that too. And as you say, just getting excited about people from other cultures, and they're like, why do you care that much about us? But it's like, wow, that's super exciting. And just 100%. Hearing other people's lives and how they've grown up.
And that's one thing on the podcast that I really want to get across to everyone, is that you can just get out there and hear other people's walks of life, and if you just stumble across something that you love, you can go out there and find it for yourself and take inspiration from it.
Exactly. I think obviously the people that you meet as well can kind of pave your next steps. You can obviously be inspired and have a different outlook on life because of the people that you meet, definitely. And I think also both countries that I've lived in, Germany and the UAE, they are super multicultural, and that kind of opens your mind even more. It kind of adds to that point of you can go anywhere, you can do anything. And once you meet people from different cultures, different backgrounds, you feel a lot more open and happy to do that, and to experience even more and experience what they've grown up with, for example.
And it's putting yourself in that open-minded kind of state where you're that's really important as well.
Definitely. But I think a lot of people kind of develop that from meeting other people from other cultures. It's
kind of like the action then makes it more so it kind of snowballs almost in a way.
But kind of unconsciously, you don't think about it until now when we're reflecting on it.
Now when we're recording a podcast about it. And I think that's a really nice positive note to end on, is that you can put yourself out there and go and search for these experiences that are going to benefit you so much. And even at the time it can feel really daunting, but it's taking that step, and I loved hearing your experiences of it. So thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. That's my main piece of advice to anybody, is just make that leap. It's incredibly daunting, but once you do it, there's so many benefits in yourself, in your life, in your mindset. And I think, anyone can do it. Everyone can do it. There's so many opportunities. So take the leap.
And on that note, let's leave it there. Thank you so much, Jen, for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.